I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that are read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He is the author of several books, no other than Mr. Mario Wiza.
Yay! Mario Isa's here. Hi.
Welcome back to Book 101, Mr. Mario, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. First off, I'm really excited that we are here and taking time to make this happen. My name is Mario Halim Wisa, or easy, just Mario Wisa, first name, last name. I reside in Seattle, Washington, and I was actually born and raised in Egypt 40 years ago. And about 25 years ago, I came to the US to simply study the English language. Over the past 25 years, I've traveled to so many different places. I've held more than 12 different jobs. I served in the military. I had the privilege of also working in different corporate companies: Bank of America, Expedia, NCR, National Cash Register. And last couple of years, successfully, I was able to publish three of my books. One of them today, we're talking about Empowering Communication Unleashed. The most powerful voice you will ever hear is your own. And I'm really stoked because my passion is communication. This is my it. It's not my. It's beyond my passion. It's my life. I build my life on that, and I always like to show up and allow the host to just pick my brain and create something fun and informative for our listeners. So let's do it.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. Mario Halim Wisa, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the
Thank
world.
you. Thank
So
you.
let's talk about your empowering communication and lead. So, what is the central message of this book?
Absolutely. So when we think about empowering, one of the easiest way to look at it is think of the opposite of empowering, which is disempowering. Basically, empowering is the ability to do something. We can encourage, inspire, and empower ourselves to follow our dreams and achieve our goals and make things happen based on our own vision. And it's very important to not only have this inner conversation dialogue to empower ourselves, but it's also important to be aware that our surroundings also empower us or disempower us. I mean, our environment, whether friends or co-workers or family, basically communication is so vital. It's like air, it's everywhere. And how we use it, it could be adding value or it could be taking away from the value of what is happening. So, empowering communication unleashed is basically it gives you the opportunity to understand what communication is, what empowering communication is, and the impact it has on your life. Also, to be aware that when you communicate intentionally, mindfully, and deliberately with empathy, it can make miracles happen in our lives. To be empathetic with oneself and others, it's very, very important. And also, a big section of the book, I talk about conflict resolution, which is a huge topic. I think I might have to write another topic about conflict resolution because I get asked about this a lot. So it's all in the book. It's kind of big book, almost like 400 pages. It's packed. It's something to study. Uh, my research of almost 20 years, a big part of it is in the book. And I think it's one of my first creation as a book, and I'm very proud of it. And it's actually has been translated to Egyptian Arabic, and it's also being marketed in Africa, North Africa, and the Middle East. So yeah, empowering communication
Empowering.
unleashed. The most powerful
Definitely.
voice you will ever hear is your own.
Definitely. So, how does the book define empowering communication?
Absolutely. So let's slow down for a second and take like one word at a time. The word communication. What is communication? I see communication as a non-stop, voluntary and involuntary process of exchanging information, knowledge, and vibration. That is communication. Non-stop, voluntary, and involuntary process of exchanging information, knowledge, energy, and vibration. When we think about empowering communication, is the ability to produce encouragement and inspiring words and sentences and energy to not only help ourselves but create an uplifting environment for everyone. To use our words very mindfully and carefully crafted to actually create conducive environment for us to grow and achieve our goals. Very, very important. Now, the part of unleashed is very important because I do believe that we all have this power within us. Hence, I say unleashed. We need to let it out. Some of us, either from childhood trauma or experiences in the past or family influence, it's not easy for us to speak up our inner voice, to actually speak our truth. We need to speak our truth because over time, we're cultivating the path that we're going to take. If we don't um, speak up our inner voice, we actually tend to get a little bit depressed. In fact, I really like this really cool quote I read a while ago. The quote is, unexpressed expression causes depression. Unexpressed expression causes depression. What that means for me is we all have this inner voice within us. We want to like speak up. We want to share our thoughts, our feelings. We want to um, open up and let out. Yet some of us feels like we're being hindered by other people, expectations, or the environment, and by unleashing that voice, it might seem inconvenient at the beginning, yet it is liberating for ourselves and others. Why I say for others? When we unleash our inner voice and we show up and we become authentic wherever we go, subconsciously we allow other people to do the same. When we see someone else who is using their voice intentionally and unleashing it and using it in an empowering way, other people see that and realize that they have the same thing within themselves. They just need to let it out. It could happen overnight for some people. It might take weeks or months for some other people. So time is really irrelevant. It's about time. It's about energy and dedication to the process. To be consistent with the process. To keep trying because it's not necessarily easy. It may not happen in 1 hour or 1 day. It does take time. So being aware that we all have this inner empowering voice, and we can not only become aware of it by using it intentionally.
So, Mr. Mario, what are the key principles discussed in the book?
Say again slowly. Sorry.
What are the key principles
Oh,
discussed in the book?
absolutely. Um, I mentioned one of them already, like empathy, communicating with empathy, which basically you engage with other people in a humanitarian way. What that means is when we connect with other people, which communication is connection, when we connect with other people, we need to be aware that we don't only look at their appearance or their position or their gender or whatever clothes they have on, but we see that we are building connection with another human being. So, one, empathy. There are obviously many principles in there, but one is empathy. Number two, conflict resolution. To understand that oftentimes when there is a conflict with other people, one of the best ways to approach this situation and find a healthy solution is to figure out a solution within ourselves first before we approach other people. Also, I talk about communication in a compassionate way, to not only be compassionate with self, but also other people, because every single human being is doing his or her best. And I guess I'll mention one more since we're talking here. I have a whole chapter about self care. This is so important. Self care is not only about brushing your teeth or taking a shower, or I don't know, to put fresh clothes on. No, self care is more of a how hygienic self talk. The way we communicate with ourselves, it needs to be more, um, I don't want to say clean, but as the book says, empowering. We communicate with ourselves, and that is a form of self care, where we congratulate ourselves for the smallest progress that we do. Self care is also forgiving past self. That is self care, actually, to be compassionate with self and just let go. Self care. Self care is actually also to cultivate quality time to spend with self, to have healthy relationships with other people. We ought to take the time to cultivate relationship with our own self, our inner world, to listen to self, to communicate with self, to have a conversation back up. Don't go crazy with it, but just be mindful of the process. Okay, converse with yourself in a mindful way and be deliberate about the process, because when we build a healthy relationship with ourselves, that is a sign of self-care. And again, when we do that, not only we attract people with similar um, tendencies, but also we become, with time, we become a role model for other people without telling them what to do or what to say. We genuine our lifestyle and self-care becomes a role model for other people.
Mr. Mario, very well said.
Goodness.
Very well said.
Hmm.
So, how does the book differentiate between effective and ineffective communication?
That's a great question. Great question. Now, what is effective? Simply put, effective is something that works. Isn't that true? What is
Hmm.
effective? Something that really works, and not only works, but works in an like efficient way to deliver the message concisely. Ineffective, usually emotional communication. When our communication is overwhelmed with our emotions, we do not choose our words carefully. And sometimes, actually more often times than not, uh, when we communicate with our high emotions, our emotions become sorry, our communications become not as effective, almost ineffective. What I mean by that is, for my research, I have discovered, we know about human beings' thoughts, feelings, and actions. Number one that comes before those two, before emotions and actions, are thoughts. Thoughts, actually, when we think about something in a positive or negative way, we have this feeling about it. So to be aware that we are expressing, when we are communicating, we are expressing our thoughts. Yes, our tonality, the way we express, our emotions will color the way we communicate. We need to be aware of that. The more effective we are, that means we convey our ideas and concepts without coloring it so much with our emotions. I am not saying there's anything wrong with having emotional conversation. No, this is absolutely okay. But there's a time and space for that. Most often, our communication between one human to another, we are actually want to exchange ideas, thoughts, and we want to grow together. Emotions, it's beautiful if we're lucky to be emotional being and have it. Yet when emotions overpower our message that we're trying to convey, our message becomes ineffective. So to make our communication more effective is to really slow down, create our words carefully, create a sentence intentionally, and be very clear and deliberate about the idea that we're trying to send across.
So, Mr. Mario, what would be your advice for those people out there want to write their own stories, novel, or memoir?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, first off, I do not have an advice. I do not give advices. I simply share thoughts, ideas, and experiences. I really do not have an advice. Yet, I'm going to share with my own process, my own experience, because every human mentally they have their own processes, how they process information, and there's really no standard way to process information. So I will talk about my writing process. I take time to think about what I'm going to write about for months before typing anything, before writing anything. The idea comes in my head, and I wake up, I go to sleep, I go to the gym, I eat, and I'm thinking about it. It's in the back of my mind. And I stay observant with the environment around me, because everything is around me is like teaching me what I need to know to move on forward. So I take time to reflect on the ideas and concepts before even I write anything, whether pen and paper or typing on the computer. Then one morning, I cannot decide that. It happens automatically. It could be 2 months, 4 months, even 6 months into reflection. I wake up one morning and I start dictating everything on the computer, like dictating. Turn the mic on and just like keep speaking, sharing all the ideas that I have, the concepts in my head, the stories that I have. And I do this approximately maybe 4 weeks, sorry, 6 weeks to like 8 weeks. Then after I do that, that's almost like it's not really brainstorming, but it's basically dumping what's in your head, just dumping everything. And later on, take a little break, maybe a week, maybe a month, take a little break and come back and start editing everything that I wrote. Everything that I wrote. The process of editing really it can take months. Um, and another idea, if anyone thinking to write something, whether like you said, novel or story or biography, fiction or nonfiction, let me bring this up. This is very important. You know, in the record a song, they have a studio. The studio is soundproof, and the studio is super quiet and silent before they start recording the music, the lyrics. What I'm trying to say here is for us to create something new, we have to have space to create something new. This space could be physical space, it could be mental space, it could be a blocked out part of our schedule for a few hours. This is a space to create. The thing is, I think it's very important to bring this up with awareness of time. I know here, um, time, speaking of time, creating space for us to create something in time. We all need to be aware. This is very crucial when it comes to communication, really. That time is actually a made up value. We human made up time. We decided 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 24 hours, 7 days, 360. We decided all these numbers. With that being said, no one has time. Yet, we have the ability to make time for what's important, what's valuable for us. So, if someone is looking to write a book, a novel, biography, you need to create space and time for that creative uh, arena, to create a space for you to create to create a space for the things that you want to write about, express. And that means physical space, time space as well, where you block some time to reflect. And very important to also discuss what you want to write about with other people. People are wealth of knowledge. Talk to people, ask for opinion, just like what you're doing right now, Daniel, on podcast. Every single person around us have something to offer. The one
Certainly.
thing we need to do is just asking a probe question and listen.
Certainly. So, Mr. Mario, to wrap up our discussion for today, how does the book encourage long term improvement in communication skills?
This is perfect. Yes, absolutely. As you said, to wrap this up, um, in my book, I talk about very important concept, which is intra-personal communication. So, Daniel, what you and I are having right now is called interpersonal communication 101. It's also digital communication, but the other type of communication is intra-personal communication, INTRA. And this is the bedrock of all our communications, of all our relationships, how we communicate, connect, and bond with ourselves have huge ripple effect. So, when we become aware of our inner voice, intrapersonal communication, one, we become aware of it. Two, choose the healthy thoughts and empowering and inspiring thoughts. Three, stay consistent because you are reforming your brain again. We all familiar with neuroplasticity. The brain is always changing, even with words and concepts. The brain changes itself. So consistency of keep practicing, 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 because what we keep practicing eventually becomes subconscious for us. So, when we practice empowering communication and intra-personal communication with how we connect with ourselves over time, you will not notice it. Maybe other people will notice it before you do because it becomes subconscious. And that's very important to keep in mind.
Definitely, Mr. Mario Halim Wisa. Thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. We are looking forward for more empowering books like this. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I get asked often, like, where can you find me? I'm everywhere. You can find me everywhere. But to keep it simple for the sake of this conversation, please check out my website. It's a fun website. My first name, last name, it's mariowisa.com. That's MARIOWISSA.com. There are so many things to do between checking out my books. You can book a session with me, free session for 30 minutes 101. There's also a free assessment, personality assessment that you can take. And there's also an option where you can get free chapters of my book. All you have to do is just ask for it. Sign up. You just click on that tab where it says Get Empowered. There we go.
Here we go. Get empowered, people, through Mr. Mario Wisa. So let's support him and, of course, buy and support the books itself. So, Mr. Mario, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for making this happen, Daniel. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Modicam people, see you soon.